Dual citizenship or dual loyalty is terrible. It's time that we get rid of it. And if you don't agree with me already, by the end of the video, you probably will. It undermines our national security. It totally impedes any chance that we could have as a nation of having something of a unified culture, but it also just at face value totally violates the oath of allegiance that people swear when they come to the United States. So let's jump into it. I'll give you 3 reasons, kind of already hinted at them, as to why we should do away with this dual loyalty, dual citizenship structure in the United States. And if you stick around to the end, I'll give you a 4th one, a bonus one, which is arguably the most important of them all. So a little bit of context here. GOP Senator Bernie Moreno, who, by the way, was born in Colombia, has brought forward legislation, he did this just on Monday, to require any citizen who has foreign citizenship to choose between the 2 countries. This is the entire conversation right here. If you're going to be a citizen of the United States of America, you shouldn't also be a citizen of the UK, of Ukraine, of Mexico, of Israel, of any other country on the face of the earth. If you're an American, okay, cool, own it. Actually be an American. None of this one leg in, one leg out, none of this halfway. You don't get to play 2 teams. You don't get to be on both sides of this. And Bernie Moreno, by the way, to his credit, GOP senator, when he became an American citizen, he dropped his citizenship of Colombia. He's just an American citizen. Prove it. That's the thing that we should challenge to everybody who wants to come here. I'm in favor of a massive immigration moratorium, but if we're going to allow anybody to come here, okay, we can have that conversation. You got to pick. You got to prove that you're actually an American. You're not just coming here to enjoy our milk and honey. You're not just coming here to enjoy some social benefits, to, I don't know, have some economic freedom and things like that. You should have to be an American. And this isn't an immoral stance or some sort of a rude stance on behalf of the United States of America. This is our country. We have every right to want to maintain it and make sure that we're not being taken advantage of. So let's jump into the 3 reasons as to why I believe that we should do away with this. We should follow the advice, the legislation proposed by Senator Bernie Moreno. The first of which is the massive national security risk. And I think anybody who's being honest, if you come to the table as an honest broker and you really think about this logically, anybody should be able to understand the inherent dangers associated with having somebody here who has this dual loyalty, who has this dual citizenship. Say, for example, the United States goes to war. Let's pick one that you know the media will like. Let's say we go to war with Russia, right? Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump, they're duking it out, okay? Well, you have an American who is a citizen of Russia and a citizen of the United States at the same time. War breaks out. Which side are you on? Are you going to fight with the United States? Are you going to fight with Russia? Are you going to be a saboteur? Are you going to stab us in the back? If you get some intel that could sway a battle, right? This was common in World War II, the phrase loose lips sink ships. Okay, well, that's a real thing. In times of actual total war, anybody could come into possession of something that they could take to a government and say, hey, listen, there's a planned attack. They're going to hit the East Coast or whatever. And if that information got to the U.S. government, it could be potentially detrimental to another nation. If there is a United States citizen who's got one leg in, one leg out, you're also a citizen of Russia. Okay, whose team are you going to be on? And if anybody that wants to be an American, if anybody's migrating here and wants to be naturalized, if you even so much as hesitate to answer that question, if you don't emphatically and instantly say, I will side with the United States of America, get out of the country. Get out. Application denied, rejected, go home, adios, sorry, bud. We're not going to have anybody who's going to be a fence sitter in a time of war. Oh, well, no, you're not an American. If that's the case, if you have to wonder which side you're on, you're not an American. This applies, by the way, to members of Congress. We have people in the United States Congress who have served in foreign militaries. They swore to die on behalf of another country. They signed their life on a dotted line saying, I will die for Israel, the United Kingdom, Ukraine, it doesn't matter, Germany, France, I don't care where it is. If you said you're willing to fight and die for another country and you still have citizenship of that country, no, absolutely not. I do not want you to be a United States citizen. Drop the citizenship of that other country. If you're really an American, prove it. You should have no problem whatsoever dropping that. And right now, we have people in Congress who would not do that. We have sitting members at the highest level of United States government. We have sitting members in elected office who would not drop their foreign citizenship. That tells you everything that you need to know. Why are we sending so much money to all of these other countries? Well, maybe because some of the people voting on the legislation served in the military of said foreign nation. That might just be a certain place to look. Maybe we start to pull at that thread just a little bit, and maybe we start to find some things of a little bit of interest there when it comes to our national security. By the way, the Founding Fathers were very smart people. There's a reason the President of the United States, if you're not familiar with this, revisit your constitutional history on this. The President of the United States has to have been born in the United States. They can't be a naturalized citizen. They have to be a born here American, because the founders were afraid that we would have somebody from another country come here to the United States, and then they would try and take advantage of the highest office in the land. So the same standard that applies at the highest level. Personally, I don't think that if you're born outside the United States, you should be able to hold any federal office. I think that it makes perfect sense if it would apply to the president, and it should apply to Congress. Congress is the one that has the constitutionally granted power to make war. For example, maybe they should all be like people who are actually born here, have heritage here, have, family here. That's just an idea. The other issue, though, moving beyond just the obvious whenever it comes to national security, culturally speaking, assimilation is an important thing. If somebody's going to be one leg in, one leg out, it doesn't just apply to national security. It applies to your trip to Walmart. It applies to your trip to McDonald's. Am I going to be able to go to the store and speak English? Is the cashier going to understand what I'm saying? Am I going to be able to go and know my neighbors and my friends? And do we all speak? I don't want to be in a neighborhood where everybody speaks 32 different languages because they're all like, one guy speaks French because he's still got French citizenship and a oui or whatever, and he's still like, no, I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in people who are from Mexico who have Mexican citizenship living in the United States who refuse to assimilate. If you're still a citizen of Mexico as much as you're a citizen of the United States, why would you ever identify with America? If you're not willing to set aside that Mexican identity and become an American and identify with our culture, heritage, history, future, etc., why would you ever want to assimilate? In fact, it wouldn't make any sense as to why they would do that. So just from a perspective of assimilation, and it's important that we have some level of commonality in a country. I know we've been told for many years that diversity is the number one strength that you could ever ask for, but actually it's not so fun when you don't speak the same language as the people around you. In times of crisis, say there's a flood or something, you can't even speak the same language of these people. A tornado comes, and what are you going to do? It's the Tower of Babel from like a biblical perspective. The Tower of Babel, when God confused the language of the people, that was a punishment. It's not a good thing to not be able to speak the same language as the people around you. Just for the record, assimilation is important. Nobody even knows what it means to be an American anymore. And maybe that's because we have a bunch of people who aren't really American who are living in our country and kind of corrupting what it means to actually be an American. Anyways, the most direct, just by the black and white, when you become a naturalized American, you take an oath. You take an oath of allegiance to this country, to the United States of America. I'm going to butcher some of this because it's kind of in Old English, but I'll put it up on the screen. You can read along. The oath of allegiance to the United States for a naturalized citizen says, and I quote, "I hereby declare on oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, whatever, state or sovereignty of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or a citizen." Literally saying, I'm putting it all, I am, quote, absolutely and entirely renouncing and abjuring all allegiance and fidelity that I have to any other country. Awesome. Based. Great. Bare minimum. Prove it. Okay, prove it. Do it. Show me. Before you just say it, let's not have words spoken into the ether, absent any kind of an action behind it. Let's put your money where your mouth is. Drop that foreign citizenship. I don't see why. I mean, if you're willing to say that you absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to a foreign nation, why do you keep your citizenship? See, the very oath of allegiance that they say, is in direct contradiction to them continuing to hold citizenship in a foreign country. Now, if you're not convinced yet, I promised you I would give you 3 reasons plus a bonus, the bonus potentially being the most important of all. The final proof that I want to give you comes from the book of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 24. These are the words of none other than Jesus Christ himself, part of the Sermon on the Mount, as accounted by Matthew. He says, quote, "No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate one and love the other, or you'll be devoted to one and despise the other." He's speaking, by the way, in the context of money. To finish his quote here, to finish verse 24, he says, "You cannot serve both God and money." Now, of course, in this case, Jesus is talking about the relationship between God and money. You can't be a full servant of God and also a full servant of money at the same time. Eventually, you're going to despise one or the other. But the principle that he's giving here, the idea that no man can serve two masters, he's working off of a true theme. It doesn't have to just apply to God and money. Clearly, this applies to other things. This would harken back very closely to the example I gave of in a time of war. Which master will you serve? Which country will actually have your true fidelity, your true loyalty? Will it be the United States or will it be another country? So, listen, I think that the case here is very clear. If you're going to be an American, if we're going to welcome you into our country, well, you shouldn't be a citizen of any other country. No leg in, no leg out, none of that bull crap. You're either all in or you're all out. You got to pick a team. Anyways, that's all I got for you. Until next time, be sure that you like, share, subscribe, and stick around for the next one. Keep me in your prayers. Keep your country in your prayers. God bless.